How we doing, people? Thank you so much for dropping by the channel. Before we talk about Boots Ennis versus Chukhadzian, if you could take a minute, hit the like button. If you think this guy talks a bit of sense, then do please consider hitting subscribe as well. We're trying to get to 21k as quick as we can, and hitting that like button will definitely help. So, Boots Ennis defeats Jaron Chukhadzian in a rematch of a fight that they had roughly about a year ago. Now, this was a rematch that nobody really asked for, apart from the IBF, because obviously Chukhadzian was the mandatory. Now, going into this fight, I didn't do much videos on it because, to be honest with you, I remember the last fight. It was not compelling viewing. It was a whitewash for Boots Ennis, 120, 108 in all of the scorecards. There was no real moments of excitement at all in that fight. And I remember thinking, look, chances are it's going to be hard to get worse than that, but I'm not envisioning a particularly stellar contest. I think it's going to be maybe a little bit more aggressive from Chukhadzian, but nothing that's going to make this contest any more fun than it was the first time. And it was so decisive the first time, 120, 108, that any desire to see it is not even there. It's not like there was any moment of drama in it. It was just a whitewash. Now, from the first round, you could tell Chukhadzian, this was a different guy. He was coming in with a different plan. He was really, he came in my opinion, with all the desire in the world, and in my opinion, I should say, he was going to leave it all in the ring. And he definitely did do that. It was a good performance by him, although he was the clear loser. He's clear loser. I will say the judge who scored this fight, 119 to 107, that was a disgraceful scorecard. There's no way Chukhadzian only won one round in this fight. No. The Steve Weisfeld scorecard and the other scorecards, well, they were both, one was 117, 109, and the other was 116, 110. They were way more accurate, 110%. They were way more accurate scorecards. There's no way in hell that Chukhadzian only won a round. That's nonsense. In fact, I'll tell you how competitive this fight was early on. It was really competitive early on, and then Boots got far ahead. Although Chukhadzian was still, he was still making a say of it as the rounds go on. But the first 4 rounds, now, I was watching this on DAZN, and Chris Mannix, who was scoring this, had a draw after 4 rounds. Okay, now I wouldn't necessarily have an issue if you had Chukhadzian up after 4, maybe by a round, because the first round I gave it to Boots Ennis as well, but that first round told me everything about this fight. Told me that Chukhadzian was coming into this fight nowhere near the same mindset as he had the first time, because straight off the bat he was punching with Boots Ennis. He was a lot more aggressive, and he landed a left hook on Boots Ennis that the commentators were kind of like, oh, Boots got the worst of it. It was a bit of an exchange. Boots got the worst of it. The left hook came near the back end of the round, and I think with Boots' the way Boots was off balance. Basically, he took a left hook to the side of the head, and it was almost like it pushed him, and he just sidestepped. Basically, is the word I'm looking for. And the commentators kind of made it out like, oh, was Boots stunned? I don't think he was. I think he was just caught with a shot. He was off balance. He wasn't down or anything like that. But it's the first kind of time you've noticeably seen Boots Ennis kind of stumble a little bit. And the first round was what it was, and I gave the second round to Chukhadzian. And you're looking at this fight and you're thinking, okay, we're in for a fight here. The thing that's a worry, if you're a Boots Ennis fan, there's 2 things you'd be worried about here. All right, the first one obviously is defense, because he was getting caught with so many shots. I know he was caught with a lot of left hooks, but it wasn't even just the left hooks. He was getting hit with right hands. Chukhadzian was punching with Boots Ennis. Now, if you're someone like Boots Ennis, who offensively, I would consider him an offensive juggernaut at times, because he's fast hands, good combination puncher, very heavy-handed, clearly has a lot of punching power there. Offensively, Boots Ennis is brilliant. But the fact of the matter is that you're someone like Chukhadzian, who offensively, he's not what Boots Ennis is, but he was able to punch with him and have so much success punching with Boots Ennis, which is a very, very dangerous thing to do. Well, again, when you're in there with someone like a Boots Ennis, you really, to be able to get away with how much he was able to punch with him is worrying if you're a Boots Ennis fan. The fact that Boots Ennis, although he was never, again, noticeably hurt in this fight, maybe he was stunned a little bit in round 12, but he was hit so much with so many shots that realistically, his defense should be so much tighter with. And this is a worry for several reasons. One, it's a worry because you just, as a fighter, you don't want to be getting hit too much, irrespective of the level, because you want to try and have a long career. And if you're going into fights, even if fights that you should win, but you're shifting punishment, you're shifting punches. It's going to shorten your career. And if you have that lax defense now, when you're at 147 pounds, when you're clearly the top guy, you're clearly bigger, stronger, you're just better than everyone else at that respective division, because the division, strangely, because welterweight's always been a division which is just like a conveyor belt of talent. That conveyor belt's clearly stopped working, because it's probably the weakest I've seen it in maybe 2 decades, more maybe. You're clearly the best at that division. When you go to 154, these guys are going to be every bit as big as you, because Boots Ennis was massive in there. He looked huge. He looked 2 weight divisions bigger. But the guys at 154, some of those guys are cutting down from 180 plus, so they're going to be just as big as well. They hit very, very hard. So you're really going to want to be on point with defense. You cannot be fighting like you did in this fight, where your just defense was just completely laxed. And as the fight progressed, Boots started to get more into it. Chukhadzian obviously ended up getting dropped. I think it was round 5. And as the rounds progressed, it was just more of the same. Boots Ennis was winning these rounds comfortably, but he was always in it. Chukhadzian was. He was not always in with a shot of winning the rounds, but you always felt that he was live. That there was never a moment where Boots, certainly if you were from the outside looking in, that you felt that he could just settle. Now, the corner work in particular, I mean, listen, his dad, I think, is a Boise Ennis. I mean, he must clearly be a fan of Teofimo Lopez Sr., because the advice he was giving Boots Ennis. Now, luckily, Boots was not in the type of fight that Lopez was in against Kambosos a couple of years, 3 years ago now, because it was similar to that. Just go out there and knock him out. Oh, that's the advice you want in a fight in which the guy is very game, in which he's hitting me a lot, in which he's punching with you. That's the advice you want to give. Just go out there and knock him out. Sure, if it was easy, isn't that how everyone would do it? Sure, you know, I mean, Anthony Joshua, I mean, why didn't Ben Davison give Joshua that? Just go out there and knock him out. If it was that easy, everyone would do it, wouldn't they? How is he going to set the knockout up, huh? How is he going to do that? Because this guy is, yeah, he's getting hit, Chukhadzian, but, you know, he's avoiding shots as well. You know, he's difficult to break down. Oh, just go out there and knock him out. Oh, that's brilliant advice, isn't it? That's just, you know, that is A-class trainer of the year advice. Give that man a medal. That was terrible advice from Boots' dad. So they need to look at that. Because you can't, again, if you're going to move up, which it's likely Boots will, and you're in a tough fight, you need proper advice. You need sound advice. He was in there with a guy who, yeah, he beat soundly a year ago, but over the course of that year, he's improved. And he's really come to win. He needs some good sound advice. He needs to be told simple, basic instructions. You're getting hit too much. Tighten the flipping defense up, which Boots didn't do. And as, again, the rounds progressed, we were going to the championship rounds. Chukhadzian was really trying to give a go of it in those rounds, even in round 12. Punching with Boots Ennis, landing shots while he's punching with him. Not a good performance in a sense of offensively. We still see that Boots Ennis, you know, offensively, he is one of those guys. He's a tremendous athlete. But as a whole, how would I give Boots Ennis on this performance? What would I give him, say, marks out of 10, which I don't normally do, but if I was to give him marks out of 10, I'd maybe give him a 6, 6.5. Because it was, you know, he won the fight clearly, but he didn't look at his best. And, you know, if Terence Crawford, I know Terence Crawford probably is, if it's not Canelo Alvarez, I would say it's unlikely we'll see Crawford again, unfortunately, because we all love watching Terence Crawford on here. He's one of our favourite fighters. But if this was, say, Boots of a year ago and Crawford had stuck around at 147, because Boots obviously was his mandatory, I think he would have had a field day with Boots Ennis looking the way he did in this fight. Because it's shown to me that in the last year, now maybe it has something to do with the fact that he is struggling to make 147. I will say that's probably one of the reasons. But over the last year, I've seen virtually no improvement in Boots Ennis, which is a worry, because I thought Boots Ennis, and I still do think he's tremendous talent and he'll have a good career, but I'm seeing virtually no improvement. Now, that could be one of two things. That could be the fact that he's at the weight division, the 147 pounds. He's obviously got the IBF rehydration clause as well, because he's the IBF champion. So if he's struggling to make the weight, having that the morning of the fight, I believe is 12 pounds now, that's not going to help you, right? You're going to look, you know, not the best, you know, especially if you're struggling to make the weight. But, you know, part of me thinks that one of the reasons I'm not seeing much improvement over the last year is because he's not really getting it in the gym. I think maybe, judging by the advice his dad was giving him in the corner, and, you know, far be it from me to question, you know, his thinking, but I'm gonna, because you just can't be giving advice just saying go and knock the guy out, and then not tell him tighten up the defense. There's so many things in there that could have been improved, and on the fly, like in the fight. And corner, just no, go in there and knock him out. Brilliant, absolutely flipping brilliant. Well done. So move up to 154. If he does move up there next, there's going to be improvements need to be made. The one thing I would say, I wouldn't mind seeing Boots attempt to unify, and I'll tell you why. Because there won't be any rehydration clause. The IBF waived that for unifications, and if that is the reason, maybe why we're seeing him struggle so much, then maybe having not to have that 12 pounds the next day worrying over him, have that cloud over him. Might we see a slightly more improved Boots? Could be overthinking on that one. Maybe it is best that he moves up to 154. In terms of the fight itself, yeah, it was a decent scrap. I'd recommend you go watch it. Boots the clear winner, but yeah, his opponent definitely. I mean, Karen. We were calling him Karen first time around. We ain't going to be calling him, even though it is his name, but we ain't going to be calling him that this time. He really improved. Gave a good account of him and made this fight very entertaining. So I recommend you go and have a look at it. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. And until later, because I will be doing some videos later. Peace.